The blue light of the alien ship cast strange shadows across the walls of the small cabin where Katie slept. She had been taken 3 weeks ago from her research station on Mars. No warning, no chance to call for help. Just a flash of light, and then darkness. When she woke, she found herself in this room with its strange curved walls and air that smelled like cinnamon. The door had no handle. The bed seemed to float a few inches off the floor. Food appeared twice a day through a slot in the wall. Katie was a mechanic, not a soldier. She fixed rovers and habitat systems on the Mars colony. She was nobody special, just a girl from Ohio who had always dreamed of space. Her light brown hair was cut short for practical reasons, and her hands were rough. From years of work, on the 4th day the door finally opened. A tall figure stood in the entrance, at least 7 feet tall, with iridescent purple skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and completely black. Her long fingers ended in small claws, and a crown of small bony ridges decorated her otherwise smooth head. Katie pressed herself against the far wall, heart racing. The alien spoke, her voice like music. "You are the human female known as Katie Ellis." Katie nodded, unable to find her voice. "I am Princess Zara, heir to the Vexillian Empire. We have been watching your kind for some time. You are the first human to be brought into the royal collection." Collection, that word made Katie feel sick. "Why me?" she managed. As Zara tilted her head. "Your genetic structure is unusually resilient. Your adaptability metrics exceed standard human baselines. Your problem-solving abilities rank in the top percentile of your species. You are an exceptional specimen. I want to go home," Katie said. "That is not possible," Zara replied. "You belong to the royal house now. You will be studied, honored, and preserved." The days that followed settled into a routine. Zara would visit for several hours. Katie would be asked questions about Earth, about human customs, about her life. Sometimes she would be taken to a large chamber filled with strange equipment where alien scientists would scan her body and take samples of her hair and blood. Katie began to notice things. Zara lingered in her chambers longer than seemed necessary. The princess would watch her with those dark eyes, following her movements. Sometimes their hands would touch when Zara brought her gifts. Unusual fruits or small objects from distant worlds each time. The alien princess seemed to shiver at the contact. Katie started to keep track of time by counting sleep cycles. She estimated it had been about 2 months since her abduction. She learned that the Vexillians were an ancient species with a vast empire. Spanning hundreds of worlds, they had been watching Earth for centuries, gathering data on humans, but keeping their presence hidden. Zara explained that her people valued genetic diversity. They collected specimens from thousands of species, preserving them, studying them, sometimes integrating beneficial traits into their own genome. Through a process Katie did not fully understand, "You are the first human to be selected for the royal collection," Zara told her one day as they sat in a garden room filled with plants from a dozen different worlds. "It is a great honor." "I don't feel honored," Katie replied. "I feel like a lab rat." Zara seemed confused by this. "What is a lab rat?" "A creature we use for experiments," Katie said. "An animal that has no choice in what happens to it." Zara was silent for a long time, her black eyes unreadable. Then she said softly, "I had not considered this perspective. I was taught that being chosen for preservation was the highest honor any species could receive." Katie felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe she could make the princess understand. Maybe there was a way home. The ship was massive. Katie learned larger than any spacecraft humans had ever built. It was a royal vessel carrying Princess Zara on what the Vexillians called a collection tour, gathering rare specimens from various planets. Katie was just one of many beings taken from their homes, but she seemed to be the only one that Zara visited personally. "Why do you come here so often?" Katie asked one day when Zara brought her a book, a history of the Vexillian Empire translated somehow into English. Zara seemed surprised by the question. "You interest me," she said simply. "Your species is fascinating. Your emotions are so vivid, so raw. We Vexillians have evolved beyond such intensity, but something about your human passion draws me to you." Katie did not know how to respond to this. She began to pay more attention to the ship, watching the crew, studying the technology. Whenever she was allowed outside her room, the Vexillians were advanced far beyond humans. Their technology seemed almost magical. But Katie had always been good with machines. She began to understand some of it at night. She dreamed of escape one day. Zara took her to a new room, a vast chamber with a transparent ceiling that showed the stars. They stood side by side looking up at the unfamiliar constellations. "This is where we are," she said, pointing to a cluster of stars far from the patterns. "Katie knew this is your sun." She pointed to a tiny speck barely visible so far away. Katie felt a wave of homesickness wash over her. Mars, the colony, her friends, everything she knew was unreachable. "Why did you take me?" she whispered. Zara turned to her. "Your species is on the verge of something remarkable. You stand at a crossroads. You could destroy yourselves as so many young species do, or you could join the galactic community and flourish. We have been watching. Waiting. That doesn't explain why you took me personally." Katie said Zara's purple skin seemed to flush darker. "I chose you specifically," she admitted. "From all the humans we studied, you showed remarkable qualities. Courage, resilience, intelligence, and something else. Something unique that I cannot name." Katie frowned. "What do you mean?" The princess moved closer, her tall form towering over Katie. "When I first saw you through our observation devices, I felt a connection. I cannot explain it. This has never happened to me before with any specimen." Katie stepped back. "You're saying you kidnapped me because you had a crush on me?" Zara tilted her head. "Crush? I do not know this word." Katie felt anger rising. "You took me from my home because I was interesting to you. Do you have any idea how wrong that is? How cruel?" Zara seemed genuinely confused. "Cruel? I gave you a great honor. You will live far longer here than you would on your primitive world. You will see wonders no human has ever seen. You will help preserve your species. Genetic heritage." Katie shook her head. "You don't understand at all, do you? There's a difference between being honored and being stolen. Between being preserved and being imprisoned." For the first time she saw emotion in Zara's alien face. Something like shame. The princess turned away. "I must consider your words," she said quietly, before leaving Katie alone beneath the stars. That night the dreams changed. Katie found herself back on Mars, working in the habitat dome fixing an air recycler. But something was wrong. The air felt different, smelled like cinnamon. She looked up and saw Zara watching her from across the room. Impossible. She woke with a start. The lights in her room were dimmed for sleep cycle, but she could make out a figure standing by the door. "Zara," she whispered. The princess moved closer in the dim light. "I have been thinking about what you said." She spoke softly. "Our minds touched while you slept. It is something my species can do, a sharing of thoughts. I did not intend it, but it happened." Katie sat up, wary. "What do you mean?" "Our minds touched. We can form connections with other beings," Zara explained, "a kind of mental bond. It rarely happens with species outside our own, but with you it formed without my intention. I believe this is why I felt drawn to you, why I selected you." Katie felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you in my head now? Can you read my thoughts?" Zara shook her head. "No. The connection is dormant unless actively engaged, but it exists between us now. I cannot undo it." Katie wrapped her arms around herself, feeling violated. "You're saying we're connected, somehow?" "Yes," Zara said, "the connection grows stronger each day. I did not understand it at first, but now I believe I do. By your human terms, I have formed an attachment to you." Katie did not know whether to be afraid or fascinated. What kind of attachment? Zara moved closer, sitting on the edge of the floating bed. "My people do not experience emotion as humans do. But since meeting you, I have felt things, new sensations difficult to describe. I believe you would call it affection. Perhaps even love." Katie stared at the alien princess. "This can't be happening." "I have come to a decision," Zara said. "I will take you back to Mars if that is truly what you wish. The connection between us will fade with distance. I will feel its loss, but I will endure." Katie should have felt relieved this was what she wanted. Wasn't it to go home, but something held her back. Curiosity, perhaps, or something deeper. "If I stay," she asked, "what happens?" Then Zara looked at her with those alien eyes. "I would ask you to stand by my side, not as a specimen, but as a companion. I would show you the wonders of the Empire, teach you our ways. Learn from you in return. You would help me understand humans when I become Empress. I could forge a proper alliance with Earth. You would be a bridge. Between our worlds it sounded impossible, fantastic, like something from a story. Yet Katie found herself considering it. I need time to think, she said. Of course, Zara replied. But know that whatever you decide, my feelings for you will not change you. Have awakened something in me. Katie Ellis, something I did not know existed. The princess rose and moved to the door, pausing before opening it. Tomorrow, I will show you more of the ship. You should understand what life here would be like before you make your choice. After Zara left, Katie lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Mars, about Earth, about the stars beyond. She thought about the strange. True to her word, Zara arrived early the next day to show Katie more of the ship. Katie had slept fitfully, her mind full of strange dreams and stranger thoughts about the alien princess and her confession. The ship is called the Stellar Crown, Zara explained as they walked through a corridor with walls that seemed to shimmer and change colors. It is the royal vessel of the Vexillian House of Zenth. My family has ruled the empire for 10,000 cycles. So long as a cycle? Katie asked. Approximately 2 of your Earth years, Zara replied. Katie did the math in her head. 20,000 years. The Vexillian royal family had been in power longer than human civilization had existed. The corridors were filled with other aliens. Some looked similar to Zara, with their purple skin and black eyes, though none had the elaborate crown of ridges that marked her as royalty. Others were completely different species with various forms and features Katie had never imagined. They all bowed or made other gestures of respect as Zara passed. Some looked at Katie with curiosity, others with what seemed like disapproval. This is the cultural repository, Zara said, leading Katie into a vast chamber filled with displays, strange objects, and what appeared to be holographic images. We preserve knowledge and artifacts from thousands of worlds. Katie wandered through the displays, fascinated. Despite herself, there were tools and artworks from civilizations she had never heard of, texts in languages no human had ever seen, and technologies she could barely comprehend. Is this why you collect specimens, Zara? To preserve cultures? Not just cultures, Zara replied. Genetics is the primary focus, life itself in all its diversity. The universe is vast, Katie, but life is precious and rare. We Vexillians see ourselves as guardians of that diversity. They continued through the ship, passing gardens filled with plants from different worlds, laboratories where scientists worked with equipment Katie could not identify, and living quarters for the various crew members and other collected specimens. These are the residential chambers for honored guests, Zara said, gesturing to a series of doors. Not all who join the collection are kept in isolation as you, or many choose to serve the Empire in various capacities. Katie frowned. Why was I isolated? Then Zara looked uncomfortable. I wished to study you personally, to understand you before introducing you to others. I see now that this was wrong by your standards. I apologize. They entered a large open area filled with what looked like trees from a dozen different worlds. Their leaves and colors Katie had never seen on Earth. Blues, purples, even some that seemed to shift between colors. This is the Imperial Garden, Zara said. Each royal vessel contains plants from the homeworlds of all species in the Empire. It is a reminder of our commitment to preservation. The garden was beautiful. Katie had to admit, she could hear sounds like singing coming from some of the plants, and small creatures flitted between the branches, some glowing, some changing colors. A group of aliens noticed their arrival and approached. Zara bowed her head slightly in greeting. These are the Imperial advisors, she told Katie. They help me make decisions regarding the Empire and the collection. One of the aliens stepped forward, taller even than Zara, with skin that was deep blue rather than purple and eyes that glowed faintly. Princess, this is unwise, it said, its voice sounding like several voices speaking at once, bringing an unprocessed specimen to the Imperial Garden breaks. Protocol. Zara straightened her posture. Katie is not just a specimen advisor, Vex. She is my guest and will be treated as such. The advisor, named Vex, looked at Katie with glowing eyes that seemed to see through her. This human has not been properly evaluated. The risks. There are no risks? Zara interrupted. I have formed a connection with her. Murmur ran through the group of advisors. Vex stepped back as if shocked. Princess, you cannot mean. I do, Zara said firmly. I have connected with her mind. Our thoughts have touched. It was not intentional, but it has happened. Another advisor moved forward, this one smaller with gray skin and 6 limbs. A connection with a primitive species is unprecedented. Princess, your father will not approve. My father does not need to know. Zara said, at least not yet. Katie and I are still exploring what this means. Katie felt uncomfortable being discussed as if she wasn't there. Excuse me. She said, I am standing right here and I don't appreciate being called primitive. The advisors turned to her, some seeming shocked that she had spoken. Zara looked pleased. Yes, Katie is right. We will show proper respect. She is not just any human, she is special. Her mind is compatible with mine in ways I cannot fully explain. The advisors conferred among themselves, speaking in a language Katie could not understand. Finally, Vex turned back to Zara. The council will need to discuss this development, Princess. It has implications for succession and royal protocol. Zara nodded. I understand. Continue your discussions. I will show Katie the rest of the ship. As they walked away, Katie whispered, what was that all about? What does connection have to do with succession? Zara was quiet for a moment. In our culture, she finally said, mental connection is sacred. It is how royal pairs are chosen, how future rulers are selected. If 2 minds can truly link, it is seen as a sign from the ancestors that they are meant to lead together. Katie stopped walking. Wait, are you saying that because our minds connected, or whatever that means, I'm supposed to rule with you? Not exactly, Zara said, but it complicates things. The royal protocols state that the heir to the throne must form a bond with another of suitable lineage before ascending to the throne. I have formed a bond with you, a human. This is unprecedented. Katie felt dizzy, so that's why the advisors were freaking out, because you're supposed to bond with another Vexillian. Not a human, yes, Zara admitted, though they are more concerned with the fact that the bond formed naturally without the ritual preparations typically involved. Our minds found each other, Katie, that is extremely rare even among my own kind. They continued walking through the ship, Katie trying to process this new information. After some time, they reached a large chamber with a curved wall made entirely of some transparent material showing the stars. Beyond this is the observation deck, Zara said. I come here often to think. Katie moved to the transparent wall, gazing out at the unfamiliar stars. They were so far from Earth, so far from anything she knew. She could see what looked like a nebula in the distance, clouds of colored gas and dust stretching across space. It's beautiful, she whispered. Zara stood beside her. Our empire spans much of this sector of the galaxy, she said, pointing to various stars. We have brought peace and order to hundreds of worlds, preserved countless species from extinction. How Katie asked. Zara seemed pleased by her interest. Through careful management of resources, through technology, and through the collection, we identify worlds in danger from natural disasters or their own development. We preserve what we can, sometimes whole populations, sometimes just genetic samples. And Earth? Katie asked. Is Earth in danger? Zara hesitated. Your world stands at a critical point. Your technology has advanced rapidly, but your wisdom has not kept pace. You damage your environment, wage wars among yourselves. Many species reach this point and destroy themselves. Katie felt a chill. Your people just watch and wait for that to happen. No, Zara said. We observe, we sometimes intervene. Subtly, I had planned to make Earth my special project when I become Empress, to guide your leaders toward better choices. But now. What? Katie asked. Zara turned to her. Now, I have you, a direct connection to humanity through you. I could better understand. Your species help more effectively. Katie wasn't sure how to feel about that. It sounded noble but also manipulative. Was Zara truly interested in her, or just in what she represented, as if reading her thoughts? Zara added, my interest in you, Katie Ellis, is personal as well as political. The connection between us is real. I feel it growing stronger each day. Do you not feel it? Tukadi was about to deny it, but paused. There was something, a sense of Zara, at the edges of her awareness, a feeling she couldn't quite name. Sometimes I think I do, she admitted, especially in dreams. Zara smiled, a strange expression on her alien face. That is the connection forming. It will grow stronger with time if you allow it. They stood in silence, watching the stars slowly shift as the ship moved through space. So what happens now? Katie finally asked. Zara turned to her. That depends on you. If you wish to return to Mars, I will arrange it, though it would mean sacrificing much of what I have planned for your world, and If I stay, then you would become my consort, Zara said simply. You would stand by my side as I travel the Empire, as I eventually take the throne. You would help me understand humans so that I could better protect Earth, and you would never age as humans. Normally, do our technology can extend your life to match mine? How long do Vexillians live? Katie asked. Zara made a gesture that seemed equivalent to a shrug. Approximately 500 of your years. Katie felt dizzy again. 500 years it was. Impossible to imagine. You need not decide now. Zara said, there is still much for you to learn about us and about the connection we share. Suddenly alarms began to sound throughout the ship, red lights flashing in sequence. Zara stiffened, her hand moving to a device at her waist. What is it? Katie asked. We are being hailed by the Imperial flagship, Zara said, her voice tense. My father, the Emperor, is coming. Katie remembered the advisor's words. Your father will not approve. Is that bad? Zara looked at her. With those black alien eyes, it could be very bad for both of us. The Emperor does not tolerate deviations from tradition, and I have broken several traditions already by bringing you here, by forming a connection. A tense silence filled the throne room. The Emperor and Princess Zara locked in a battle of wills with Katie standing between them, her heart racing. Very well, the Emperor finally said after what seemed like an eternity. The human lives, but she will never be recognized as royal consort. She will remain your pet. Your curiosity, nothing more. We shall see. Father, Zara said, taking Katie's hand. We shall see. Emperor waved a hand, dismissing them. Guards escorted them from the throne room as soon as the doors closed behind them. Katie let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. That was terrifying. She whispered. Zara squeezed her hand gently. My father rarely compromises. This is actually a victory. Victory, Katie echoed. He called me your tight word, Zara said. He will accept our bond in time once he sees its strength, its potential. They walked quickly through the corridors, crew members averting their eyes as they passed. News of the confrontation had clearly spread throughout the ship. Zara led Katie to a new section of the vessel, to chambers Katie had never seen before. They were spacious, luxurious, with furnishings that seemed designed for comfort rather than function. These are my private quarters, Zara explained. You will stay here, now where I can protect you from my father's agents. The rooms were beautiful. Katie had to admit, with views of space through transparent walls and strange artwork that seemed to move and change as she watched plants that glowed softly, providing light. It's like something from a dream, she said. Zara watched her with those black alien eyes. I wish to make you comfortable, Katie, to show you that life here can be pleasant, even fulfilling. Katie turned to her. We need to talk about what just happened. Back there you told your father you love me. You threatened to give up your throne for me. Why? Zara's purple skin darkened slightly in what Katie had come to recognize as the Vexillian equivalent of a blush. My species forms deep connections quickly, she explained. When I first saw you, I felt it, a pull. I cannot explain. I have watched you. I have learned from you. Your courage, your adaptability, your kindness. These are traits valued by my people. But you kidnapped me, Katie said. Yes, Zara admitted. That was wrong by your standards. I see that now. I wish to make amends. Katie sat on what appeared to be a couch, though it molded itself to her body as she sat, becoming perfectly comfortable. This is all happening so fast, she said. I barely know you. Yet you're talking about me becoming your consort, living for centuries, ruling an empire. I'm just a mechanic from Ohio. I fix things, I don't rule things. Zara sat beside her, the couch adjusting to accommodate her larger form in your world. You were a mechanic in mine. You could be so much more. The connection between us is rare, Katie. Powerful. It could bring our peoples together, prevent wars, save lives. Katie looked at the alien princess, so different, yet somehow familiar in her emotions, her desires, her hopes. You really believe that, don't you? Zara nodded, with the mental link between us growing stronger. We could accomplish remarkable things. I could understand humans better through you. Guide your leaders toward peace and prosperity. And what about me? Katie asked. What do I get out of this? Besides a really long lifespan. Zara seemed surprised by the question. You would have everything. Knowledge, power, comfort. You would see wonders no human has ever seen, travel to worlds beyond imagination. You would help shape the future of the galaxy, including Earth's place in it. Is that Not enough. Kitty stood moving to the transparent wall, looking out at the stars. I don't know, she said. Honestly, I need time to process all this, of course, Zara said, rising. As well, take all the time you need. I have waited many cycles to find someone with whom I could form a true bond. I can wait longer. Later, after Zara had shown her around the new quarters and left her to rest, Katie explored the rooms on her own. They were clearly designed for Vexillian physiology. Everything slightly too large, the temperature a bit too warm but comfortable enough. She found a bathing chamber with water that seemed to defy gravity, floating in globules that she could step into, a food preparation area with ingredients she did not recognize, and what appeared to be a library filled with texts in languages she could not read. The bed, when she found it, was enormous, covered in soft materials that felt like silk, but stronger. The room dimmed automatically as she approached, as if sensing her fatigue. Katie lay down, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened since her abduction 3 months ago. If her calculations were correct, she had gone from prisoner to specimen to potential consort of an alien princess. It was absurd, like something from a story, yet it was happening. She thought about Mars, about Earth, about her old life. It seemed distant now, unreal compared to the wonders she had seen aboard the Vexillian ship. She thought about Zara, about the connection the princess claimed existed between them. Katie still couldn't feel it, at least not consciously, but something had changed between them. That much was certain. Sleep came eventually, bringing strange dreams of stars and ships and a tall purple figure who watched over her with those alien black eyes. Katie woke to find Zara sitting nearby, watching her. How long have you been there? Katie asked. Sitting up, not long. Zara replied, I did not wish to disturb your rest. You needed time to process. Yesterday was difficult. Katie nodded. That's one way to put it. Your father wants to kill me and you want to marry me, or whatever consort means. Zara tilted her head. Consort is not precisely equivalent to your human concept of marriage. It is deeper. A true joining of minds and purpose, though there are ceremonial aspects as well. So like a super marriage. Katie said. Zara seemed amused by this. Yes, a super marriage, that would be an acceptable approximation. Katie got up, moving to what appeared to be a window, though she suspected it was actually a screen showing the space outside. What happens now? She asked. Zara joined her at the window. My father will remain aboard the Imperial flagship. For several days he wishes to evaluate you personally. Evaluate me? Katie felt nervous again. What does that mean? Est's conversations, observations. Zara explained. He wishes to understand why I have chosen you, to determine if you are worthy of my attention, and if he decides him not. Zara was quiet for a moment. He cannot break the bond between us, but he could separate us. Send me to the far reaches of the Empire, assign you to a research facility. We must convince him of your value. Katie frowned. I don't like being treated like an object to be evaluated. I understand, Zara said, but this is the reality we face. My father holds tremendous power. I am challenging centuries of tradition by choosing you. We must play this game carefully. A chime sounded throughout the room. Zara straightened. The Emperor requests your presence, she said. Both of us. Katie felt a flutter of panic. So soon? I haven't prepared. What should I say? Be yourself. Zara advised. My father respects authenticity even when it challenges him. They dressed Katie in clothes provided by Zara, simple but elegant garments that fit her surprisingly well. Though designed with Vexillian aesthetics, they made their way through the ship to a different chamber. Not the throne room this time, but a smaller, more intimate space. The Emperor sat at a table laden with what appeared to be food, though nothing Katie recognized. Zara bowed slightly, Katie following her examples. The Emperor commanded, they did so. Katie trying not to stare at the alien ruler, his gold-patterned skin gleaming in the light. I have reviewed your file, human. The Emperor said. Katie Ellis, mechanic assigned to the Mars colony, age 28, unmarried. No children, ordinary by most metrics. Yet my daughter sees something extraordinary in you. I just do my job. Katie said. I fix things when they're broken. The Emperor made a sound that might have been a laugh. Things when they are broken? Yes. Perhaps that is what my daughter sees in you. We Vexillians have lost something over the millennia. Of our evolution, perhaps she believes you can fix. Uzura remained silent, watching the exchange carefully. Tell me, human, the Emperor continued. What do you know of responsibility, of duty? Katie thought for a moment. Not much. I guess I know that when people count on you, you should try not to let them down. And if duty conflicts with desire, then you have to make a choice. Katie said sometimes the right choice hurts. The Emperor studied her. Those black eyes, unreadable. You speak simply, yet not without wisdom. He turned to Zara. You believe this human understands what it would mean to be consort to the heir of the Empire? Zara nodded. Katie is adaptable, father. She learns quickly. She sees connections. Others miss given time and proper teaching. She could serve the Empire well. The Emperor made a dismissive gesture. She is human, their lifespans are brief. Their perspectives limited. Our technology can extend her life, Zara said. And as for perspective, perhaps we need a fresh view of things, perhaps. The Empire has become too set in its way. Dangerous words, daughter. The Emperor said, his voice cold. Katie felt tension building in the room. These two powerful aliens discussing her future as if she were a piece in some game. Excuse me, she said. Both Vexillians turned to her. I understand I'm not what you'd expect for someone in this position. I'm not royal, I'm not even Vexillian. But I am here now, and I do have something to offer. The Emperor leaned forward. What could you possibly offer? The Vexillian. Empire human, a different way of seeing things. Katie said, we humans haven't been around as long as your people. We make mistakes, we struggle, but we also adapt, we change. We see possibilities where others might see only problems. I fixed things on Mars that weren't supposed to be fixable because I didn't know they couldn't be fixed, I just tried. Zara looked at her with something like pride. The Emperor remained impassive. Terraformers. Katie echoed the word, familiar yet inadequate for what Nex was describing. Not for planets, advisor Nex clarified, for space itself. They convert energy, restructuring it at a fundamental level, preparing regions of space for something else, something we cannot yet comprehend. Zara looked at the view screen, at the massive entity now clearly visible. A darkness that seemed to bend light around it. For what purpose, she asked. Nex gestured to the data displays. We are still interpreting, but the patterns suggest a cycle, creation, not destruction. They convert energy to prepare space for something new to grow. Katie felt a chill run down her spine, like farmers clearing land. She whispered, precisely. Nex said, though, on a cosmic scale. They remove what exists to allow for new growth. The energy they harvest is not wasted, but transformed, stored for the next phase. Zara stood straighter. We need to communicate this to them, that we understand, or are trying to. That we are not obstacles, but fellow beings with a right to exist. The science team worked feverishly, developing more complex energy patterns, trying to convey concepts beyond simple mathematics. Sentience, consciousness, cooperation. Katie watched her mind racing. The massive entity had slowed its approach, as if sensing the attempts at communication. The smaller contained entity responding to the energy patterns with increasing complexity. I think it's working, Katie said. Hope rising in her voice. Advisor. Lara moved to Zara's side. Princess, we should contact the fleet, inform the Emperor of our findings. Zara nodded, but maintained focus on the communication attempt. First, we must establish understanding. Then we can bring others into the dialogue. Hours passed, tension mounting. The massive entity now holding position near the seeker. Not advancing, not retreating. The communication continuing, patterns of energy back and forth. A primitive language being developed in real time. Katie felt exhaustion setting in, the strain of the situation, the importance of what they were attempting, the fear of failure. She leaned against a console, closing her eyes for a moment, and then she felt it. Not through her senses, but through the bond with Zara. A presence vast, ancient, powerful, touching their connected minds, a communication beyond the energy patterns, beyond words, beyond normal understanding. Zara gasped beside her, feeling it too. Their bond somehow serving as a conduit, a bridge between minds utterly unlike each other. Yet, finding connection, images flowed through Katie's consciousness, stars being born, galaxies forming, life-evolving patterns beyond human comprehension, cycles of creation and dissolution, spanning billions of years. She saw the Devourers not as destroyers, but as gardeners of a sort preparing cosmic soil for new growth. She saw their purpose, their function in a system vaster than any empire. Zara clutched Katie's hand as they experienced this together. Their bond amplifying the connection, making it possible, their unlike minds bridging the gap between human Vexillion and the cosmic entities humans had named Devourers. When it ended, Katie found herself on her knees. Zara beside her, the crew staring at them in confusion. What had seemed like minutes, to them had apparently been less than a second in real time. "What happened?" Advisor Lara asked, concern in her voice. Zara stood, helping Katie to her feet. "Contact." She said simply. "We made contact through our bond. They reached out. They saw us. We saw." Themnex looked skeptical. "The energy patterns show no significant change." "It's not in the patterns," Katie said, her voice shaky from the experience. "It's beyond that. They used our connection. Somehow, our bond created a bridge." Zara nodded to the science team. "Continue the energy communication, but prepare a full report on what we experienced for my father. The Emperor needs to understand what we are facing." Katie sat heavily in a nearby chair, her mind still reeling from the contact. "They don't want to destroy us," she said. "They don't even really understand us. We're like insects to them. Tiny beings operating on a scale they barely perceive. They reshape space for purposes beyond our comprehension. But they don't specifically wish us harm." Zara knelt beside her chair. "They understand now." She asked. "That we are sentient, that we wish to survive?" Katie nodded. "I think so. At least they know we exist as thinking beings now. That's a start." And the hours that followed, the communication continued, more complex, more nuanced, the massive entity remaining in position, not advancing, not threatening, the science team working to develop a more sophisticated exchange. Zara sent a message to the Imperial fleet explaining their discoveries, their contact, requesting that aggressive actions against the entities be suspended pending further communication. The Emperor responded with cautious approval, ordering the fleet to maintain distance but remain alert. 3 days later, a breakthrough came. "We understand enough." Now Nex announced to Zara and Katie. "They are indeed terraformers of a sort. They convert energy and matter, preparing regions of space for something they call the flowering, a process of cosmic creation beyond our current science but akin to seeding. New forms of life, or perhaps new forms of reality itself. And our world's our empire." Katie asked. Nex gestured to the communication data. "They have agreed to adjust their patterns to avoid populated systems to give us time to relocate from regions. They must transform. They did not understand before that we could not simply move or adapt as they do. They exist partially in dimensions we cannot access, perceive time and space differently. They thought our resistance was simply a natural reaction, like weather or gravity, not conscious opposition." Zara looked at Katie with something like wonder in those alien eyes. "You were right. They were not malevolent, merely unaware." Katie felt relief washing over her along with exhaustion, the strain of the past days, the intensity of the mental contact taking its toll. 2 weeks later, they returned to the Imperial fleet. The Seeker carrying not just data but a new understanding, a potential peace between utterly unlike forms of existence. The Emperor received them in his private chambers, listening as Zara and Katie explained what they had discovered, what they had experienced. It seems the prophecy had merit after all, the Emperor said, after they finished unlike minds finding a way forward when traditional paths failed. Zara stood proudly beside Katie, their bond now visible to any Vexillion with mental sensitivity, a glowing connection between them. "Our bond made this possible, Father." The human perspective combined with Vexillion abilities, the Emperor studied them, his expression unreadable. "You have accomplished something remarkable, daughter. Something that may save the Empire. Countless lives, countless worlds." He turned to Katie. "And you, human, have proven your value beyond question." Katie felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The Emperor's acceptance meant safety, security for her and for Earthen. The months that followed, treaties were established with the entities humans might have called them Devourers, but Vexillions now called them Shapers, boundaries drawn, regions designated for transformation, others protected for habitation, communication, continuing to develop mutual understanding. Growing, Katie remained by Zara's side, their bond deepening, strengthening as they worked together bridging not just their two species but now helping to bridge understanding with cosmic entities beyond either of their comprehensions. On a quiet evening 6 months after their return, Katie stood with Zara in the Imperial Garden on the stellar crown watching the stars, both of them changed by their experiences. "Did you ever think," Zara asked, "that when you were taken from Mars, that this would be the outcome?" Katie laughed softly. "No. I thought I'd die, or be experimented on, or at best, eventually escape somehow. I never imagined I'd help negotiate peace with space gardeners." Zara took her hand, the bond between them humming with shared emotion. "The universe is full of wonders. Katie, we have seen only the beginning." Katie looked at the tall purple-skinned alien who had once been her captor, then her teacher, now her partner in every sense. "So what happens now?" she asked. Zara gestured to the stars. "My father has appointed us as official ambassadors to the Shapers. We will continue to develop communication, understanding cooperation between our peoples and theirs in time. I will still become Empress, but with a perspective no ruler before me has had with a consort, unlike any other." The word consort still made Katie nervous despite everything. "Are you sure that's what you want?" she asked. "I'm still just a mechanic from Ohio." Zara turned to her. Those alien black eyes, somehow warm, now familiar. "You were never just anything, Katie Ellis. You are the one whose mind connected with mine. Across species, across worlds, you are the one who saw possibility where others saw only threat. You are exactly what I want, what I need, what the Empire needs." Katie felt the truth of it. Through their bond, the genuine emotion, the certainty, the affection that had grown between them despite their differences. "Because of their differences, I still want to visit Earth sometime," she said. "See it again, show you where I came from." "Of course," Zara agreed, "when things have stabilized, when we have established proper diplomatic relations with your world. I would very much like to see the planet that produced someone like you." Katie smiled at the thought of introducing an alien princess to Earth, to Ohio, to ordinary human things. The absurdity of it, the wonder, the chaos it would cause, but that was for the future. For now there was work to be done, understanding to be built, bridges to be formed between species, between ways of thinking, between forms of existence. She looked at Zara, feeling the bond between them stronger than ever. "I never expected any of this," she said. "But I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I met you, even if you did kidnap me." In the days that followed, Katie began her education in Vexillian culture, history and protocol. She learned about the Empire, its founding, its expansion, its encounters with other species, some peaceful, some not. She learned about Vexillian biology, their unusual mental abilities, their extended lifespans, their complex social hierarchies. Zara was a patient teacher explaining concepts. Katie struggled to grasp, sometimes using the mental connection between them to share images and feelings that transcended language. Katie was beginning to sense this connection more clearly now, a presence at the edge of her awareness, a warmth that grew stronger. When Zara was near, the Emperor remained aboard his flagship, observing Katie from a distance, occasionally summoning her for brief conversations that felt like tests. She did her best to answer honestly to show that she was taking her position seriously. 1 month into her education, Katie was introduced to the Imperial Council. The 12 advisors who helped guide the Empire. Zara's father had instructed them to accept her presence, though some clearly disapproved. Katie sat quietly during meetings, listening, learning, recognizing that every word, every gesture was being evaluated. Vex, the blue-skinned advisor who had first objected to her presence, remained coldly polite. Katie could sense his disapproval, though he never stated it directly. The others varied in their attitudes, some curious, some dismissive, some openly hostile. Advisor Lara, a female Vexillian with silver patterns on her purple skin, seemed most accepting. She often explained things to Katie that others glossed over, clarifying complex points of policy or history. "I was born on a border world," Lara told Katie one day. "After a particularly difficult council session, I understand what it is to be an outsider, to see things differently." Katie appreciated the support she needed. Yet the pressure was enormous, the expectations overwhelming. She was not just learning about an alien culture. She was being judged on her potential to influence it to help rule it someday. At night when she was alone in the chambers, she now shared with Zara. Though in separate sleeping areas, Katie would sometimes cry, silently overwhelmed by the strangeness of it all. The distance from everything she had known, she missed simple things. Earth food, earth music, the feel of dirt beneath her feet. The smell of rain. Zara found her one night sitting by the window, tears streaming down her face. The princess sat beside her silently, offering comfort through her presence. "I'm sorry," Katie whispered. "I know I should be stronger." Zara shook her head. "No. Apology is needed. Your response is natural, expected. Even I would be concerned if you felt nothing for your former life." Katie wiped her eyes. "Do you ever feel overwhelmed by your responsibilities?" Zara was quiet for a moment. "Every day," she finally said. "I was born to rule." Katie raised from my first moments to lead an empire, to make decisions that affect billions of lives. The weight of it is sometimes crushing. Katie looked at the alien princess, seeing her truly, for perhaps the first time, not as an abductor, not as a powerful alien, but as a person with fears and doubts of her own. "I never thought about it that way." "We are not so different, you and I," Zara said. "Despite appearances, we both seek purpose, meaning, connection." Katie felt the bond between them pulse stronger in that moment, a sharing of emotion that transcended words. She reached out tentatively, touching Zara's face, her fingers tracing the ridges that crowned the princess. Had Zara closed her eyes at the touch, her purple skin darkening. The mental connection between them flared, suddenly images flowing between them. Katie's memories of Earth mixed with Zara's memories of distant worlds. Katie's feelings of loss and wonder, mingling with Zara's sense of duty and growing affection. They pulled apart, both breathing heavily, overwhelmed by the intensity of the exchange. "What was that?" Katie gasped, the bond growing deeper. Zara said, her voice unsteady. "It happens sometimes when emotions are strong, when barriers lower." Katie could still feel echoes of Zara's thoughts, her feelings, the enormity of her responsibility, the loneliness of leadership, the hope that Katie represented. It was humbling and frightening. "Is it always going to be like that?" Katie asked, so overwhelming. "No," Zara said, "with practice, we can control it, shape it, use it, or simply let it rest in the background like a comfortable silence between friends." "Friends," Katie echoed. "Is that what we are?" Zara looked at her with those alien eyes. "I would like us to be more than friends, Katie Ellis. But I will accept whatever role you wish me to have in your life." Katie didn't know how to respond to that. Part of her still saw Zara as her captor, despite the growing understanding between them. Part of her was drawn to the princess, fascinated by her strength, her wisdom, her otherness. The next day they received news the Devourers had taken another system closer to the Empire core. Exilian defenses had failed. Again, casualties were high. The Emperor summoned the full council, including Katie and Zara. "Cannot continue this way," the Emperor said, his voice grave. "Our conventional strategies have failed. We must consider alternatives." Advisor Vex stood. "Our military is the strongest in the known galaxy, sire. We must simply commit more resources, more ships." The Emperor shook his head. "The Devourers adapt, Vex. They learn from each encounter. Our weapons become less effective each time we face them." Another advisor suggested diplomatic outreach. The Emperor dismissed this. "They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They simply consume." Katie listened, feeling the fear in the room. These powerful beings, rulers of a vast empire, were afraid. Truly afraid, perhaps for the first time in their long lives. The thought chilled her. Zara squeezed her hand gently, as if sensing her discomfort. Katie felt the now familiar warmth of their connection, a reassurance. Advisor Lara spoke. "We have researchers studying the Devourers, attempting to understand their nature, their weaknesses, but progress is slow. They defy conventional analysis." The council continued discussing options. None satisfactory. Katie half listened, her mind wandering to the problem she had solved as a mechanic on Mars. Broken systems, unusual failures, machines that behaved in ways they shouldn't. Suddenly, she sat up straighter, a thought forming. Zara noticed her change in posture. "What is it?" she asked quietly. Katie hesitated, then spoke. "Has anyone actually captured one of these Devourers, studied it directly?" The council fell silent. all eyes turning to her. Advisor Vex made a dismissive gesture. Capture one, they cannot be contained human, they consume all barriers. Katie looked to the Emperor. May I speak freely? The Emperor studied her, then nodded. Proceed on. Mars, Katie began. When systems failed in ways we didn't understand, we would isolate components, test them, individually figure out exactly how they worked and why they were failing. We couldn't fix what we didn't understand. The Vexillians watched her, some with interest, others with skepticism. You say these devourers consume energy? Katie continued. What if? That's not just a side effect. What if? That's their purpose. What if they're not malicious but just hungry? Advisor. Lara leaned forward, an interesting perspective. Hunger, not malice. Katie nodded. If they're consuming energy, maybe they need it. Maybe that's what they are, energy consumers. If so, there might be types of energy they prefer, types they avoid, ways to redirect them, like we redirect water on Earth. The Emperor looked thoughtful. You suggest we might lure them away rather than destroy them? Possibly, Katie said. Or find something they won't consume, some type of energy that repels them or harms them. But we need to study one directly to know. Advisor Vex stood, his blue skin darkened with emotion. This is absurd. We cannot capture what cannot be contained. The human speaks from ignorance. Zara rose to defend Katie, but the Emperor raised a hand, silencing them both. The human raises a valid point. Vex, one our scientists have considered but deemed too dangerous. I believe it is time to reconsider. He turned to Katie. What would you suggest? Katie thought quickly. On Mars, we'd create a controlled environment for testing, something small, isolated with failsafes. The Emperor nodded to an advisor. Make it so, he commanded. Assemble our best scientists, prepare a research vessel with appropriate containment facilities. We will attempt to capture one of the smaller devourer entities for study. The council erupted in discussion, some supporting the plan, others objecting. The Emperor allowed the debate for a time, then ended it with a gesture. This is not a request, he said, it is a command. Prepare the mission. I will personally oversee the selection of personnel as. The council dispersed. Zara looked at Katie with new respect. You impressed my father. She said that is no small achievement. Katie felt a mix of pride and fear. What if I'm wrong? What if they can't be contained or studied? What if someone gets hurt because of my suggestion? Zara touched her face gently. Then we will try something else. The important thing is that you offered a new perspective. One we had not fully considered. That is why our connection matters, Katie. Why you matter. 3 days later, the research mission was prepared, a specialized vessel designed for the task. The Emperor announced that Zara would lead the mission with Katie accompanying her. I must remain with the fleet, the Emperor said. But this is an opportunity for you, daughter, to demonstrate leadership in a crisis, and for your human to prove her value. Katie felt a wave of anxiety. She was no scientist, no expert on alien threats. What could she possibly contribute? But Zara accepted the assignment with confidence, promising success. The research vessel was named the Seeker, smaller than the Stellar Crown, but still impressive by human standards. It carried a crew of 50 specialists, equipment Katie could barely comprehend, and multiple layers of shielding against the Devourer's energy-draining abilities.